Hello everyone, my name is Igor and you are listening to a special episode of You in Europe Radio. The episode, which is made in frame of Erasmus KA2 project Be a Citizen, Belong. This project was mainly focused on the events that took place during the Second World War, but not only actually, because during our online meetings, local activities and the youth exchange in Portugal in Amarante in 2023, we were also speaking and doing activities related to racism, xenophobia, discrimination, fake news, human rights, and so on. In today's podcast, we are going to meet together with Panos from Greece, Christos from Greece, Sandra from Egypt, and me, Igor from Poland. We are all based in Greece and we all participated in this project as a Greek team, but luckily I can say for this project, for the topic of this project, we are from 3 different countries. In today's episode, we are going to speak about some issues related to the project, but we are going to take a look at the situation in our countries, in Greece, in Egypt, and in Poland. So, I would like to ask you, Panos, what was the impact of the Second World War on Greece?
Okay, first of all, I've thought about some things that for the war back then, general things, Greece was occupied on the 28th of October 1940. It's still the day that we celebrate as a national holiday. You could say holiday, yeah, but it's just basically the beginning of the war in Greece, the Italian invasion in Greece from Albania. And it's something that is still on our minds. We celebrate it with parades and stuff like that. We have also military parades and different kinds of celebrations. Because of the things that happened while Greece was occupied from the Axis powers, a lot of things are still visible today in our daily lives and mainly how it affected in the country in general. For example, I found some statistics that say that when Greece was occupied from the German forces, we can talk about the Jewish population was brought to near extinction from the 77,000 people that existed in Greece. The 11 to 12,000 managed to survive by hiding in homes, and basically how most of the Jewish population in Europe managed to survive in these times. But the things that we can see in the country and how it brought basically the country back several years is the destruction in the industry. 80% of Greece's industry was destroyed. 28% of the infrastructure, ports, roads, and stuff like that, were also destroyed. 90% of its bridges were destroyed. So the Greek resistance couldn't move goods, food, and guns and stuff like that. And 25 of its forests were burned. So all of those things in combination, I think, brought the country several years back in the rebuild and the advancement later after the war. Yeah, I think those are some of the things that we still see visible today in the lives of the people.
I find it very interesting because from the Polish point of view, Greece is a completely different reality for us, and when we study about history in our schools, we don't really talk about Greece, about Portugal, about Arabic countries. So I had no idea that was the flow of the war back then in Greece. It's a new thing for me.
Actually, in our schools, we learned that in the beginning of the war, when the Italian forces started to advance from Albania, Greece managed to hold them back actually, and turn them, to make them go back to Albania outside of Greece. And that was actually the first, you could say, major victory against the Axis forces that made the other powers, the Allied powers, think that, oh, we can actually beat them, because until then, I think whenever they went, Poland and the other countries, they just found no resistance. Uh, of course, after the when Hitler and the German forces saw that this you could say obstacle and the resistance the Greek army showed, they intervened, and after a month, Greece was occupied. But another thing that influenced the war, I think, is that, okay, Greece was occupied, but the population and the remaining soldiers keep resisting. And actually, on the 6th of April, 1941, there was the invasion of Crete, the biggest island of Greece. That happened. The German paratroopers found so much resistance, faced so much resistance from the people actually and the soldiers, that and they suffered such extensive casualties that the German forces abandoned large-scale airborne operations for the remaining of the war. That was a big influence in the war, I think, from the Greek resistance parties, you could say, and soldiers, people.
And when do you celebrate in Greece the end of the Second World War?
Greece was liberated in October 1944. I think we don't have a national holiday for the liberation, because we didn't do something extraordinary, or we fought back and we reclaimed our lands. It was, I think, the Red Army was advancing in Europe, and so Hitler and the German troops had to abandon Greece, so they concentrate their efforts there. So it was. I don't think we celebrated like a holiday. So I'm not sure about a certain day or something like that. I'm sure that it was October 1944. Yeah.
And I would also like to ask you, because you mentioned this at the beginning of this conversation, how do you celebrate this event? What is the mood? What is the character of this day? Is it a sad day? Is it a happy day? How does it look like in Greece?
You could say it's something of both, because we celebrate it in the happy tone that today, yeah, it's a little complicated, because, as I said, it was the start of the war, but it has like a happy meaning here. I'm not sure why, but in schools, basically, we do presentations, we watch movies. It's not always in a happy tone, because we learn about our history and what happened there. Maybe because we managed to push Italian soldiers back. Maybe that's why it's more happier. But in the schools, we also learn about the Jewish Holocaust. So that you can say it's a happy tone. Those presentations and movies. That happens every year. We watch that kind of content, and we talk about it inside the classrooms, the whole school together. We do that kind of stuff. So it's a mix of both you could say happy moments and also tragedies.
Thank you very much, Panos. And I would also like to ask now, Christos, what is the nowadays situation in Greece when it comes to tolerance, when it comes to approach to LGBT people, to refugees, to minorities? What can you say about this?
I think that the method that our educational system chooses for informing us about the Second World War, it's a wrong one, because, as it seems, we cannot learn from our mistakes. We have some far-right parties on our parliament, and some of their leaders are openly fan of Mussolini and Hitler, and nobody says anything about that. And the fun thing, not so fun, the tragic thing, it's that on 2019 we had a trial from far-right party it did many faced crimes as murders, attacks on immigrants, gay people, communists, and minorities, if we can say in general. The people who was involved to that were imprisoned. And on our last elections this summer that passed, we had a party elected and now it's in the parliament, which was motivated and supported by a prisoner who was imprisoned for all that crimes that happened. And there's a part of young people who really supports him and supports racism, fascism. We had many feminicides the last 3 years, like a huge increase. I think we were first in Europe. That's all.
Okay, so what would you say? There are more tolerant people in Greece or more not tolerant ones?
I don't know, because there are bright sides too, but dark sides, yeah, we hear most of dark sides, but I think it's not that. It's just because we're considered for fascism and sexism and homophobia and all that. So we're trying to protect ourselves, and that's why we expose that stuff a lot. But I think, yeah, we have more of bright people in the country.
Okay, Sandra, could you tell us what was the situation in Egypt back during the Second World War, and how does it look like now when it comes to the topics that we are speaking about today?
Egypt was a major battlefield in the Northern African campaign during the Second World War, being located of the First and Second Battles of Alamein. Legally an independent kingdom since 1922 and an equal sovereign power in the condominium of Anglo-Egyptian Sudan. So in reality, Egypt was heavily under the coercive influence of the United Kingdom, a state of affairs that had persisted since the United Kingdom intervened military in the Arab revolt in favor of Egypt's Khadif Tawfiq Pasha, which is the name of the person. In 1882, subsequently occupying the country. And by 1944, World War II in North Africa had ended, and King Farouk saw this as his chance to strike at Nas and the Wafd. The Wafd's message as the nationalist opposition to the British has been translated. Though Lampson saw the Wafd as an ally against the young kingdom, he knew that the government had exhausted its mandate. After politically, Egyptian politics was divided into three main powers: brokers, and the imperialist British. Each would wrestle for control over one another during this time. While anti-Wafdist parties exist, they didn't have the prestige or popularity that the Wafd enjoyed. The British wanted to prevent another revolution while still preserving its influence, while the king and his conservative allies sought to preserve a strong Islamic monarchy against the modern secular rebel forces. This is what I had.
Thank you very much for this comment. As I said, for me it's very interesting and it gives a fresh and exotic vibe to my knowledge because, as I said at the beginning of this episode, we don't really study and learn about Southern Europe and Arabic country when it comes to Second World War. We mostly speak about Soviet Union, about Germany, about France, about Great Britain, about Japan, about United States, but that's all. So for me it's a very something completely new added to the topic, which in Poland is still alive. Because as you may know, Poland was the most destroyed country during the Second World War, and it took a lot of time to rebuild it to the point it is now. And also after the war, Poland was under the influence of Soviet Union, so it also didn't help to develop as much as we could, and our economy was not as great as it could be. So my conclusion could be that the chapter of the Second World War is one of the worst and the saddest chapters in the Polish history, not to mention the Nazis' concentration camps that were located in Poland, but this topic is a huge topic for another episode actually, so let's stop here. Poland nowadays is unfortunately one of the leading countries in Europe when it comes to the level of discrimination, xenophobia, and prejudices. Also, the ideology of our government, which was far right, was allowing haters, let's say, to do what they were doing. And also the system of justice, I'm not sure how to explain it how to say it in English. I mean, the courts and all of this system was political, which was also against the rules of European Union. And because of this, we still have some internal issues related to this. But fortunately, the last month our government has changed, and now we are in the process of implementation of the new one, which is pro-European. What I wanted to say before is that many cases of discrimination were not even started to be investigated, because as I mentioned, the whole system of justice was political, and the politicians and the ruling party was supporting discrimination, xenophobia, no refugees, and so on. So really, I hope that from now on all of this will change, and I will also emphasize one more time that it's very important to participate and to create the projects like this one, like Be a Citizen Belong, which is focused on these problems, to spread this voice among young people, among local societies, about communities, among everyone, to make discrimination happen as rare as it's possible. So with this accent, I would like to say thank you to Panos, to Christos, to Sandra, and of course to you, to our listeners, and hope to see you, to listen to you in the next episode. Thank you very much. Hope to see you soon. Bye.